Dun 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 dun.
And action. Welcome to the TZP podcast. Are we calling this TZP podcast? Still, it's the mental health podcast.
Yeah, no, you're just used to the whole TZP podcast thing, but
The brand. And we're still branding. Look at the branding on the table right now. It's still TZP podcast. I think we need to redo something for the mental health podcast. So this is that one show that, delves deep into the issue of mental health, which has become a whole lot more common now than ever because...
This is not how you talk, dude.
How do I talk?
Is this your radio voice?
No, that's how
Did you
talk.
notice how when the mics came on, his voice has changed?
That isn't his how I was talking the whole time.
We're now delving into mental... Whose phone is that?
Lamek. This is why we're firing people on this show.
Wow. You're on your last leg and you know this already.
Anywho, we're discussing mental health. In this particular episode, we're discussing social media.
Now that's your voice.
Which is what I had in the beginning.
No, that's not what you had in the beginning.
Do you have any earbuds to clean this guy's ears out or something? Nothing?
Don't make me curse in front of the good doctor.
This is a mental health podcast. Can we please have our minds in the right places?
May we?
May we?
Thank you.
And that means no cursing, please.
Just speak properly.
Which is right.
Oh, now you are. Initially you weren't.
I think you just like it when I'm shouting.
I don't like it.
And then you start screaming. Why are you yelling?
Exactly. Don't yell. Don't change your voice.
This is how I talk.
Okay, now we're good.
Thank you very much.
Now we're all right.
So we're discussing social media today with the good doctor and
the good, the bad, the ugly. We've all had like a run-in.
Are you calling him?
No, not him. I'm talking about social media.
Oh, the good, the bad, and the ugly side of social media. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we've all had like a experience, good, bad,
the ugly side of social media. Yeah, true. Profitable. Yeah, true. And I know the good doctor has different angles that he wants to bring out when it comes to social media.
But you're not heavy on social media, right?
I think nowadays I'm a bit more relaxed than I used to be back in the day.
Because I say some stuff that I see on social media and you're like, wait, really? That happened?
Yeah. I think it's because of the toxicity that you're going to find on social media that I try to keep away from sometimes.
Is it that or you're just like busier now?
That too.
I don't know when this is going to air, but the other thing as well, we'll get to the doc in a second. I'm just trying to just get a couple of things on my chest when it comes to social media. And the other thing as well is, I was reading about the death of AKA, and you'd have people take photos of his dead body. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter.
There's photos of him.
Laying on the pavement. And we live in this society where we want to be the first to report something. Yeah. We want to be the first to break something at the expense of
family
and basic humanity 101. Imagine if his family found out about this on social media. And there were people that when this happened, they are pulling out their phones and you're thinking they're calling an ambulance. But no, they're activating their cameras.
To take videos of this.
Doc,
is this the reason why you thought maybe today we should talk social media? Is this one of the reasons?
I don't know if you know about AKA.
Yes, I do. It's very unfortunate that that's happened. Yeah. But it's one of the many, many reasons why I feel social media is one of the things that we need to talk about on the daily. Yeah. Especially in open conversations, especially with younger people. Yeah. And also help people really understand what impact social media really has on our brain. Because we're now in a society where you're probably going to be in the same room with people, but you're going to be online.
Half the time.
Yes. Right. And you're asking yourself really, what's really happening? Why is this happening? So, social media is, okay, just to put the narrative is, oftentimes people think social media is just Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, but social media is the web that connects us and it's bringing about this whole narrative of communication, modern day communication, modern day interaction, modern day importance to the social ability of human beings. Because as human beings, we are a social being, regardless of who you are in terms of your personality, whether you're one person who's outwardly spoken or whether you're one person who keeps to yourself. But as human beings, we are socially connected and we thrive with social connection. And this is often supposed to be in reality, in the physical world. But now that is transitioning on to the virtual reality, which is the online world. So that is where social media now comes in.
And I think the funny thing, like you mentioned, we could be in the same room and I wouldn't want to speak to you with my own voice. I'd rather meet you on Facebook. We're in the same room. And I would rather talk to you on social media than...
That's true. And not only that, funny you bring that up. But not only that, I've also noticed have you noticed how validation on social media means a lot more? Here's an example. There are people that are in a relationship, but the other partner is not satisfied until you post them.
Yeah, that happens.
Or I post something funny and you don't like it. Or I post a picture and everybody except Kalenga likes it. I'm like, dude, do we have...
Why didn't you like my picture?
Why didn't you like my picture? You've said that, right? Or even worse, you unfollow someone.
Because they didn't like your photos.
No, not even that.
Yeah.
Like, generally, if you unfollow a person...
Oh, yeah.
That is the same as, I don't know, you just going and spitting in their face.
Well, what you're saying is human connection has been reduced to, online words and photos rather than
and likes and comments. Yeah.
Right. And that's where social media is now. And this is where you have accounts like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp statuses and WhatsApp. You'll find that you haven't, for instance, you won't speak to each other on WhatsApp for some days, but you'll find that the person is viewing your status the whole time and not giving a feedback.
Yeah, true.
Right? And you're like, okay, so this person has time to look at my WhatsApp status, but doesn't have time to just
check up on me.
Hi, what's new?
Yeah.
So there's all that. And earlier you spoke about, the passing of the celebrity rapper. And here's the thing. Fact is, what Elson is exposed to on social media is not the same that you are exposed to because of the algorithm.
Yeah, of course, true.
That you both are probably, watching, but at the same time, what the AI wants you to see based on your likes and your dislikes. So if they're going to see, okay, Elson's one person who's clearly going to be invested in this and be either triggered by this or is going to be interested in this.
That's what we're going to show him.
That's what we're going to show him. But clearly, Kalenga is one person who may get triggered by this and may not want to watch this and may put away Twitter the whole day. That's negative for us. So we're not going to show him this because we don't want Kalenga to be away from Twitter today. So it's the whole structure of the algorithm as well. It's really about how to rope you in and keep you glued. Yes.
It reminds me of a friend. This is like a few months ago, and there's a funeral that I didn't know about because I'm not on the socials and whatever active the whole day. And I think I get to hear about this like later on the news or something. And I called this person like, but why didn't you tell me you've got a funeral? And she says, but I put it up on WhatsApp status. Like, I hardly go to WhatsApp statuses. I'm not going to spend the whole day just scrolling WhatsApp statuses.
That
you know what I mean?
The entire time, like, oh, you didn't know it was my birthday?
It's on my WhatsApp status.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And not only that, and this, oh man, now we're going to, I know it's going to sound like we're digressing because I have got, this is close to home. I have a problem with a person. Just reel me in when I digress. Speaking of what you're saying, how communication is beginning to suffer because of social media, I have got a problem with people that have now substituted WhatsApp or any other social, like chatting platforms to say, hey, what would you like to eat today? Or, hey, I am at the gate. And they leave it at that. And then when you see that message 2 hours later, they'll be like, no, but I sent you a message.
Yeah, you could have called.
And you're like, but if you need a response, why not pick up what happened to picking up the phone and calling?
Yeah, true.
Like, no, but you didn't check your messages. So I'm really worried about where we are heading to as society.
How have we evolved so much?
Okay, so on that point, I'd like to reel in as well and say there are people that do not like to call.
I hate receiving calls. I will put that, I hate receiving calls.
Right.
However, if it's something important, if it's something you need a response for now, it's almost like, Doc, we need to shoot this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you are and we need to start. I'm not going to send a message, which you might read an hour later. I will call, hey, Doc, are you close?
Mm-hmm.
So that I understand. But if it's just a hi, how are you? How was your day? Yeah, fine. Text me when I get the chance. I will get to it.
Okay, I agree to that. But we also have this kind of like a mixed generation where we have people that do not like to do phone calls, right? We have people that do not like to receive phone calls. They would rather just text, and it's a text-based generation. So that's the point. But then coming to Kalenga's question to say, how have we evolved so much? It's really because of the fourth industrial revolution, right? Where it's now we are based in technology and the Internet of Things. Where in this web, where it's all about creativity, innovation, and making life as simple yet efficient at the same time. And social media is one of those platforms that has allowed us to evolve in that way. You are able to get news in real time. You are able to communicate with someone on the opposite side of the world in real time, which is something that is amazing, right?
True.
But at the same time, you want to also understand that it is causing a lot of problems, like a whole lot of problems. Like, how many times have you found yourself in a situation where you don't know something and you're like, okay, let me just Google it.
Yeah.
Right? Basic things. These are basic things that you're just supposed to have think through, critically think through. But you're just like, okay, I'll just Google it. 8 times 4. Okay, wait. I'll just Google it, and these are things that are on the negative side of social media that we also need to understand.
Spellings too. People can't spell for shit now. Because your phone does that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You sit there and like, how do you spell February?
Is there an R after the B? You're not sure, so you Google it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it FEB? Is it FUB?
Doc, how much?
You don't want to spell it, did you?
No, dude, I'm a king spelling bee champion here. Okay. So
yes, you were asking.
Are you a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
Psychiatrist.
How much are we as human beings, from your research or whatever experience you have? Are we going through any mental damage of some sort with social media?
A whole lot. So the mental health or the brain impact that social media has had on our lives is huge. And now a lot of studies have proven that people that use social media platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are at like 3 to 5 times higher risk of living with clinical anxiety, feeling more isolated and lonely, feeling clinically depressed, and also having an aversion to the actual reality around them. So when we talk about what impact does social media have on mental health, it's a huge impact. Speaking about brain development and the impact it has on our ability to think through things, our ability to judge, our ability to get the correct information, it's totally distorted. So we are being sold realities that may not be 100% correct. Bringing me to the point that, and this is something that many of us also know, but we are still oblivious to this because of the naivety or because of the structures that we are in our lives. Fake news, right? Fake news travels 6 times faster than actual news.
They say nobody cares about the truth when the lie is more entertaining.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? So when you look at that, and here is a person that's just listening to information around, say, race or culture or religion, and they're reading the false news, they're going to take it in and they're going to communicate that as the truth. And that actually propagates a narrative in society or in communities that is very negative. And that negativity actually promotes this whole I like to call it a lot of problems. Like a lot of problems actually happen. And it brings us down to interpersonal relationships. It brings us down to communication in businesses. It brings us down to, things that are supposed to unite us are actually dividing us because of this narrative.
You spoke of fake news just now, Doc, and possibly expanding more on that. How much, and maybe this is not just a question to you, but also you, Kalenga.
Yeah.
How much responsibility does the actual social media platform have, number one, to debunk fake news or quote unquote harmful content? And before you answer that, bear in mind that whatever responsibility they think that they might have or measures they might put in place has got the risk of infringing on free speech. So who does it rest on to say this is harmful for a person to see and this is okay for a person to see, and what standard are they using? And when they say this is fake and this is real, what standard of dissemination are they using for that?
All right. So when it comes to, this is one thing that I've always said. When it comes to social media, ethics is actually thrown out the door or the window, because there are no ethics that are being supported in social media. And I say this because even the people that created all these platforms have kind of realized that. And the people that were the pioneers in this have realized that they're working with people's conscience, and they have started making noise about it. And they've actually decided to tap out. There is a documentary known as the Social Dilemma, where
on Netflix.
Yes, and this is a documentary that speaks about the people that have come up with concepts like the like button on Facebook, or monetizing Facebook, or talking about Instagram and its impact on how to rope people in and keep them online. How many hours is Kalenga going to be on Instagram, and how can I make sure that Kalenga is
Always on
Instagram the whole time? The algorithms, the people that have been pioneering this have realized the negative connotations it has. And they've realized that there is no conscience when it comes to social media. And because there's no conscience, it's very difficult to abide by the ethics. So who's supposed to be responsible? It's very clear that the social media companies are promoting this narrative, but then it is now up to the users that have to demand for that.
I was actually going to talk about the users, because we're talking about debunking what's fake news. How does the network itself know what fake news is? I think then it falls mostly on us and, like your followers. If we feel, okay, this is not good or it's fake news, then we click on the report button. Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, but then again, that is dangerous, because you are going to get people that are doing that based off their own feelings.
Hate.
Yes. So the motive of a person clicking a report should not really determine if something is true or not.
Yeah, true.
I wanted to bring up a point where you mentioned that this social media is sort of designed to keep you glued. Have you noticed how Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, you can scroll in perpetuity?
Oh yeah.
They don't give you okay, this is where it ends. You can keep scrolling through your newsfeed until your thumbs hurt.
You can keep scrolling, and there's a point where as you're scrolling, when new posts are applicable, they even know that your scroll contact is most likely going to be maybe, for instance, for argument's sake, in my case, it will be maybe 1 or 2 minutes attention span.
Yeah.
And then realize that I'm not going to keep going down. So they'll even say new post alert. Like on top, there'll be like a little window that will appear, like a little
notification kind of thing.
It'll be like, go back up. And then you refresh, and there'll be a whole new
set of
things for me to scroll in.
Right. Yeah.
And it will just create this loop where I'm just going to be a tweet in a tweet in a tweet, or a post in a comment in a comment. And next thing, I'm looking at this interesting comment, and I'm looking at the profile of the person who's commented, and start looking at who is this person or who are their friends. And you see, so it's more about the model that they've created in terms of validation, which again is social connection. And this is where we are. Coming to the point of what impact this has on our mental well-being, self-esteem is completely distorted because of social media. There are a lot of people that will spend hours on end taking photos, selfies, taking photos of themselves, or trying to get the perfect photo so that they can have that one post.
Yeah.
Right?
We see that all the time. Yeah.
And there are actual people who will post a brilliant photo and they'll note that in that particular moment, they didn't get the likes. They'll delete it and post it later just to get the like or the validation that they wanted out of that photo. Right? So it has a huge impact on your confidence levels, on your self-esteem level, because that has a direct impact on basic things like the vitals of well-being when it comes to your brain, your mood, how you're going to feel about your current reality, whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're irritable, whether you're anxious, which has a ripple effect on every activity that you're going to do in that day, your sleep. Social media has distorted our sleep cycle completely. Like we are supposed to sleep at a certain time at night for us to get that response. So it's distorted that. And it has also had an impact on our daily activities. Like many people today will wake up and the first thing they'll do is social media.
True.
Or many people, I have people who say, I had a very difficult night. I couldn't sleep. So I was just on TikTok and I was just in the loop. And others will say, no, I used up all my bundles because I fell asleep whilst watching reels and it just chewed up all my bundles. So I'm sorry about that. Right? So it has an impact on our finances as well now. So when you look at it, it has just disrupted our whole
being.
Yes.
Speaking of our whole being, I live in a complex, yeah?
Can you call him, please? Lamek.
It's busy. Speaking of changing our whole being, I need to find this out from a psychiatrist's point of view. I live in a complex. There's about 30 flats, right? And there's a lot of kids. And I'm observing a lot of these kids, especially when their parents are at work, maybe because they would rather have that child entertained in some way or another. They leave the child. They've bought children phones. And I'm talking about 6, 7, 8-year-olds. From a psychiatrist's point of view, what are your views on getting a phone for a child at that age? And also, I know Facebook won't allow anybody below 13 to register, but then we find they're already there. Are these things having any adverse effects on people that age?
Huge impacts. And this is where, again, I bring you back to the people that have pioneered these technologies, right? The people that have created Facebook, the people that have created Instagram, etc., or the people that have created the internet and are running behind these softwares, the things like Apple, Android, all these gadgets. They themselves don't allow their children to have access to these softwares or these, gadgets or these websites such as Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram for this very reason, because you have a young person, a child that doesn't know right from wrong, doesn't know the concept of, what is real and what is fake. Anything that they're actually being exposed to is real. Because right now, things like Google are the current reality of library. For instance, for you to know the correct information, you're like, Google it. And Google doesn't give you the correct information. It just gives you your AI generated blueprint, what you want to read or what you are going to agree to, not really what is true. So the likelihoodness of you getting false information, even through Google, is very high because of the algorithm, right? And this is why, for a young person, that is very alarming. Because if an adult is not there to show them what is right from wrong, then they're actually learning that what is actually wrong is reality. And they have these distorted narrations around what is supposed to be correct.
Wow. You spoke earlier. I think a previous point was concerning how a person would take like 1 million photos just to post one. That releases dopamine, right? That makes them feel good. The
Yes.
fact that they're getting validation. My issue is, why is it that our society now is sort of programmed to get validation or dopamine from that, where your confidence, you feel liked, you feel appreciated, you feel validated by social media, and somebody who is in our father's generation seek or get validation from other things? Is it a mindset that, or a mind shift that we really need to be focused on here? Because you've got two different people. You have somebody who is, I don't know, who is from the village, who has not been exposed to this. Where or how they seek their validation is totally different, right? So it could be in the actual small, genuine things, like you telling them you've done a good job is where they get their validation. And you look at somebody who is their age, but born and raised in an urban setting, and saying the same thing, oh, thank you, or you've done a good job, doesn't really have as much of an impact as if you then post that on Facebook to say, oh, so my child has accomplished A, B, C, and D, and I'm proud of them.
So that brings us to learned behaviors and exposure based on your brain development. So we call it the psychological experiences that you go through in life. So because we are a generation that grew up with social media, and now the following generation is actually living with social media. For us to feel supported, for our reward pathways in the brain to be activated, and for us to feel content and at peace and to thrive, we actually look for these dopamine highs. And this has to do with the social media effect as well. Social media is neuroscientifically channeled psychologically to give us that high, that positive impact. For every like you get, you're like, okay, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Or you can also talk about it from a point of anything that comes on your news feed that you relate with and you agree with, and there's a high likelihood that you're going to agree with this article. That's another dopamine high, because it's validating your view on society, your view on life, and your agreeableness to that thing.
Right.
As opposed to the previous generations, like even someone right now in the remotest area where they don't have access to social media, they haven't been exposed to that. The learned behaviors, the brain development hasn't really accustomed to that. So for them, that's not something that will trigger them. That's not something that will make them feel productive enough. So it's also about the neuroscience behind it. And this is something that a lot of us need to come to agreeableness to and relate to. To some extent, we all know it. We all know social media has this hold on us.
Yeah.
But we are naive and gullible to that. And we just let it happen.
And those are the reasons, actually. Sheryl Sandberg of, now Meta, Facebook. She was the CEO at some point. She's got two daughters.
All right.
She doesn't allow them to use Facebook.
Good drug dealers don't do drugs.
Exactly his point.
Frank Lucas
never did drugs.
And he told us that.
Yeah, American gangster, right?
What I wanted to ask, and I don't know if now is the right question, or the right time to ask this, or towards the end, but you were talking about learned behaviors. Is it possible to unlearn this?
It is. It is very much possible to unlearn this by, education, by being, told, by being communicated to, by being, supported through that. But the thing is, stacks and the odds are, piled up against you to unlearn this. It is possible to unlearn, but because the algorithm is constantly showing you things that you are going to relate to, or that is likely going to keep you in, is where it kind of gets tricky. Because there's no way someone is going to tune in to listen to Naeem or Dr. Dalal tell you this. Okay? To say this is the reality around social media. But the minute Dr. Dalal is on a platform with, say, a sensational celebrity or an influencer.
Like Kalenga?
Not really. Kalenga's
wow.
Kalenga's really like, a kind of like a positive narration.
Yeah.
Right? I'm talking
Don't
about...
scroll through my phone, nigga.
I'm talking about a sensational person.
Yeah.
right? That just breaks the news all the time in a negative light.
Got it.
Right. If I'm going to be sat next to them, everyone's going to tune in, be like, yeah, what does Dr. Dalal have to say to this person? Or what is Dr. Dalal and this person doing together in the room?
Elson is itching to bring out a name, right?
But
A name that fits that bill.
right? So, but then one thing that I always tell people is you see, when I'm going to log into my Facebook right now, it's not going to show me sensational breaking news. It's going to show me tame news, right? Because of my algorithm and what I usually search for, or what is it that I'm usually doing. So it's going to tailor my Facebook feed or my WhatsApp status feed or whatever based on that.
All right.
Right? But on the other hand, for someone who is just constantly reeled or looped into all those sensational news, like for instance, the other day there were heavy rains, right? And then there was that video trending about that
The flood by arcades.
Yeah, the flood by arcades. And then there was this lady, unfortunately, she
That fell.
drowned, and everyone was just constantly like, where is she going? What was she thinking? If it was me, I would have walked the other way, and things like that, right?
Yeah.
But no one is going to like kind of follow a proper narration on what the problem is with the floods or what the solution is on the floods or why, right?
And nobody walked up to her to help.
Yes.
They were all stuck on their phones recording.
Yes. Right. So it's unlearning is difficult because you have to fit in society, and you're also going to get what you are going to agree to. And right now, for teachers, for mentors, for parents, it's going to be that much more harder to communicate or get through to the teenagers who are still getting through or understanding life from right from wrong. Right. Because the communication is just going to be off. They're going to be like, but I read it on the internet. The internet says it's real. What do you know?
What do you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're indoors in your home and cooking the whole day. What do you know?
Lay Elementals is where we are.
Exactly.
We have got, I will tell you what Sisanga told me to tell you. There's a boardroom that, what? So she told me to tell you.
Just told me to tell you.
Yeah. There's a boardroom that they have,
Yeah.
which accommodates 15. A conference room that accommodates 60. And the upper deck event can host up to 100 people. Do you even know 100 people?
On my Facebook, yeah.
Do you know, I digress again, speaking of knowing 100 people and maybe social media. Do you know Dangba's number? Dangba.
No.
Have you heard of Dangba's number? So Dangba's number is a theory that you can only know and have an not intimate, but have a relationship with a maximum of 100 people. So 150 people.
Interesting.
So you can know and have a relationship
With
with
150 people. Anything more than that, you're just faking it.
Yeah.
Dr. Naeem, speaking of numbers and all, I think we're now at the point in our lives where we know that if you're not paying for a product, you are the product. And Facebook, we log in for free, we open an account for free, we don't pay for
free
anything.
codes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you got to have data.
Yeah, but anyway, you're getting into
But
it.
I get what you mean.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
pay for the service.
Exactly. And we are the product. From a psychiatrist, and I keep bringing up the psychiatrist's point of view because I know you've got views that the rest of us don't have. How do you feel about being the product?
I mean, if a product is giving you satisfaction, when I say satisfaction, you feel at peace, you feel happiness, you feel okay in yourself, then that's not a problem because you're investing in your well-being, right? And this is why I say, the good, the bad, and everything in between. Social media has also been the opportunity where we've been able to help and support other people. Like, for instance, this podcast, we're talking about things that people may not have access to easily, right? We can use social media as a means to share things that can help people be better or improve their well-being or improve productivity as well, right? Social media has also been an opportunity for entrepreneurs to share what they're able to do, their skills, right? True. Share ideas, Social media has also been an opportunity for people to monetize their products and get value out of it. So there's also the positive side of social media. Being a product for such a thing is not bad. However, realizing that, giving Facebook as an example, Facebook is an American company, but close to 70% of the users are outside America, right? Why is it that when you buy a phone, Facebook is
Already there.
already there?
Is it?
Yeah, it is now.
What phone?
Every
Majority of
phone,
high-end
every
phones,
Android phone has
or-
Facebook already in it.
Not
now.
an iPhone.
Every Android phone.
Oh, okay.
right? Okay. And you're also going to find certain spaces, like for instance, Zambia, where you're going to go to iStore and you're going to say, does it have the Facebook app on it? Or is it compatible with the current Facebook app? Because you need to understand that there are certain demands and needs based on the reality that we're living. All these products are a business model such that Facebook is now sharing ads, right? Influencers are all promoting ads, right?
Yeah.
And those ads or those feeds are always going to go to people that are going to relate to them or like them. So even if you're not likely going to buy that product, you're going to be influenced to keep thinking about it, and you are going to be given that narrative to say, I'm making money so that I can buy that product. I need to get that product. And it kind of becomes overwhelming because that's how marketing is. Marketing is all about subliminal messages being thrown at you so that you give into that particular product. So it's overwhelming to see that. Another thing is, in as much as Facebook is free, right? But is internet free?
Yeah, that's the point Austin brought up. We're still paying in a way.
Yes, we're still paying in a way. We still have to get that product. To such an extent where other developers realize that, for other people, Facebook, the actual Facebook app is very expensive to maintain because data is constantly used up.
Yeah.
So they also go and produce a version which says Facebook Lite.
Yeah.
So you also get a Facebook Lite version
With
where
no photos, no videos.
no photos, but you can still open certain photos that you want to see. Right? So it's still kind of molding this product for you. And the negative part of it is that it's still giving you the information that is not true. There have been so many scandals when it comes to influence because social media is influencing A, lifestyles, B, the justice system, political field as well, in terms of likableness about a particular party or particular politician.
Right.
All of these things are very, promoting inequalities and lack of diversity in our communities. And I say this because I have met people that have believed certain things because of social media, which is not true at all.
Yeah.
I have had people say, oh, Doc, did you read this story? And I'd be like, okay, let me Google it. And the things that pop up on my Google is not the things that pop up on their Google.
Yeah, true.
And it's very alarming to see, oh, wait, why are they showing you a pop piece about this particular article when on the other hand, the actual true thing, they're showing me maybe a post from a news website, which is, high end, which is showing you facts and saying that we cannot confirm this at the moment. On the other hand, for you, it's actually showing you that it's confirmed and it's real. And I understand all that now. So answering that question, being a product it has the pro, but then it has the cons on it as well.
Have you noticed how iOS, Apple, is trying to fight what is sold to you when you're a product? And there's a raging war between Apple and Facebook, in the sense that iPhones or iOS in general, the iOS system has introduced a feature where any app, because Facebook tracks what you do even when you log out of Facebook.
Do not track.
You know this, right?
I've been seeing that a lot, yeah.
Did you know this?
Yes, I know.
Yes. So when you log out of Facebook and you go to Google and you Google
sneakers,
microphones or sneakers, that's exactly what you're going to sort of get. But now the iPhone now tells you that this app is going to track what you're doing. So it'll ask you, do you want this app to track what you're doing or not to track? Right. So there has been that huge tug of war between these two tech giants. So at least somebody is doing something about it, where if you want to be sold to, have an opportunity to opt in, rather than with Android and the rest of the other platforms, the opting in is the default, and you now have to actively go and opt out of being tracked.
Very true. Giving people the autonomy to make that decision is very key, specifically for adults that are, well understanding of these concepts. Very true. But then we still have a majority. Bring it back to Zambia.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We still have a majority of adults that don't know these concepts, and they'll still opt in or not bother about it because they just, what's the worst that can happen? Right? And also, we still have people who don't understand certain things about, where they ask you to say, do you accept the terms and conditions? Because there's so much to read. You're just like, I'll just accept this. I don't have time to read all these things. When you go on every website today, when you click a link, they'll say accept all cookies or opt out on certain cookies. There are times, Elson, I've tried to say, I want to be the person who decides what cookies I want to accept. So cookies basically tells you what is it that they're going to collect in their database about the people that are visiting that website. It takes so much time to opt out on certain things. And you're like, you know what? Just accept everything. Right? And this is where when you go on your Google feed, the news feeds or anything that they're going to share is going to be based on what you've liked or what your likes are. They even give you the option to say, today they're showing me about that podcast. I'm not interested. So not interested. I'm going to click on that. And then it's going to go on that. So it's even though, yes, there are people doing something about it, I would still push back and say we're not doing enough, especially in systems and in countries like Zambia. We're not doing enough because there's so many things that we are being exposed to which we don't know, and we're believing it to be real. And that brings us to the point of cyberbullying. We go online sharing opinions which are not facts.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we think that that is reality because you read it somewhere on a particular website, or you read it on someone like Dr. Dalal's page. You've read it and says, it's real. You haven't even fact checked it because Dr. Dalal is considered to be someone who says the truth.
That's it.
That's true. Man, there's a lot that I want to say on that. Well, I've been a victim of that. Like, this started from 8 years ago. You'd have somebody, just because they're upset with you for some reason, they go on Facebook and they say this person is going around spreading HIV, etc. And this thing lives on the internet.
Just in a website with that story.
Yeah.
The week I knew you in, somebody sent me a news article about you spreading HIV in whatever country you go in. What was that about though?
And it's just like I've said, when somebody is upset with you, and the quickest way that they could tarnish your image is by going on social media and saying everything that they want to say. And because that was false, and I actually went, I got tested, I sent it through to the person that had carried that story on Facebook, and they took it down. But whatever algorithm that Google uses, a link is still there. However, when you click on it, doesn't take you anywhere. But it's been taken down, but it still lives somewhere on Google or whatever the case is. And I went through it, and I learned something because my father saw this. Actually, my dad didn't, but somebody that works with my father saw this.
Right.
But I sent this to my dad. So my dad couldn't come to me, though him and I are really close. So he's saying that to my uncle. And then so my uncle then calls me, and then I go to my uncle's house, and it's all my uncles there, my dad is there, and they're bragging and they're laughing and they're talking about it. And what my uncle then said to me is, he said, I can tell that a woman
is involved in
this. One who is scorned, right? And what he said to me is, that's what he said. What is important in life is to have character witnesses, people who know who you are, because nobody in this room believes that you could actually do this, right? Because you've got a lot to lose. And number two is, he said, I want you to watch how people react to this. You're going to get two kinds of people. You're going to get people who are going to take screenshots and spread it around, like the person who sent it to you, whoever they are. And you're going to get people who see it, and they're going to call you to say, dude, are you okay? Because I saw this nasty ass message. David Kazadi, someone sent it to them, and he called me. I was like, dude, are you okay? I saw this.
Yeah.
Somebody sent this to me, and they're like, stop associating with this guy because this is what he does. And this person actually knows you. They've got your phone number. So my uncle says to me, it's going to expose two kinds of people. one who sees it and they laugh and they're like, you see this kind of person who does A, B, C, and D. This is what he actually does. And the other person who actually calls and genuinely checks up on you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Up until obviously it was taken down. And that was like 8 years ago. But
the story's still there.
Periodically, here and there, you still get people who pop up and say, you're the guy that spreads HIV and everything. And it's neither here nor there. But what I wanted, though, to find out from you was with internet service providers and or Zicta, how much responsibility do they have, number one, to curb cyberbullying? And number two, we know porn is not allowed in here. These guys have got data of who searches for porn, who watches child porn.
They can't arrest them all.
etc., etc. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I'm just saying.
Can they do, or do they have any responsibility to do anything about it? Whether even setting up a department that filters, you don't have to arrest or know everybody, but you can
block.
You can block, right? That's number one. Or number two is you can have certain key phrases be flagged.
X videos.
You know, in America right now,
Pornhub.
if you are on the phone, if you say certain keywords like Al Qaeda, bomb, Bin Laden, or whatnot,
are you alone?
What then happens is you're gonna get a visit from the FBI because now that phone call is now flagged because you've said certain keywords. Yeah. So same thing is, do you feel there's a responsibility that Zicta has?
I do, and I will actually say that I'm an ally for Zicta. I do from time to time get to interact with Zicta on certain things. But before I go into that, I would like to say I'm sorry that what you experienced, because, cyberbullying, people think, first of all, a key phrase is sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's false.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Words
hurt.
Have an impact on your well-being. More so with cyberbullying because it's permanent. It leaves an online blueprint which transcends into your real life. There are times people take screenshots of what you say or what you do, or there are times people actually communicate that and hold that against you, right? So cyberbullying, it has a huge connotation on our well-being and more so on our mental health, because it kind of molds you into being a different person and has a ripple effect on who you are in your future. It has an impact on your social sphere, on your friends and your family circle.
Yeah.
It has an impact on your family as well, because in as much as you're being bullied as an individual, it has an impact on your friends that are close to you and your family that are also close to you and a part of you, right? So cyberbullying is huge. And this is why I say I'm glad that we have the cybersecurity, or just the bill, the online bill, right? The internet bill that actually speaks to these things. And this is where Zicta comes in, where Zicta has to help implement it. And Zicta's role is to, as you said, flag certain key things that are affecting the social fabric of our current reality, especially when it comes to the younger people, very, very key, and have real time, communication and outputs out there in telling people to say, this is wrong and this is the consequence of this wrong. Whereas, just letting it be. That's one. Number two, Zicta has put out certain, lines, out there. If you're being cyberbullied, then there are certain things that you can do. People say, oh, there's no proof the person deleted it. This is where we actually communicate to say, can you take a screenshot and keep receipts?
Not only that, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
But they also now have tools of retrieving stuff that has been deleted.
Yes.
So many times we had the Zicta conference at what's that hotel?
Radisson.
At the Radisson.
Radisson, yeah.
And Talim once actually even spoke about it, where when she went to report something and the evidence had been deleted, Zicta and the police had a way of retrieving stuff that had been deleted. Yeah.
Right? So there are certain things that Zicta is doing, but there is a lot more that us as users, and, when I say users, I'm not just talking about you as the end user, but also businesses need to do, right? In terms of ethics, in terms of conscious, and we need to actually hold Zicta accountable to promote those things as well. Because when it comes to the younger people, when it comes to parents of young people who have access to all these things. I know homes where parents have no clue what happens on social media. They just think it's the internet where people get information from. They have no idea how deep social media is. So these are things that Zikta needs to come in and also communicate to the wider users. And I won't just say Zikta. I feel the network providers.
Exactly why I said the ISPs.
Yes. The network providers have a huge role to play. Because, in as much as, we are using these networks and we're giving them that business, they equally need to communicate the safety. Like many people didn't even know in the world, in the country, for instance, the world was celebrating World Internet Day in the first week of February. Many people don't even know that. It's all about safe online use of the internet. But many people in Zambia don't even know that. This is where telecommunication providers need to come out and talk about it. Go to the people that are using these services the most and educate them.
But do you feel they don't because they benefit from it in terms of
consumption of bundles?
Yeah.
I believe it's the business model at the end of it. If I'm going to do something that is going to, bring down my profit, then I may not want to do it. That's just how businesses work.
Do we have any company right now, any ISP, any MNO, mobile network operator, internet service provider, who actually actively, just like, with cigarettes and alcohol, tell you about or teach you about responsible internet use?
Unfortunately, I have to do the research on that, but I would say nothing that I know, or none of the companies that I know do that actively. One, I do know Zikta does their part in promoting this, but Zikta is more not really a provider. Zikta is more
a regulator,
right?
Yeah.
And that is part of the mandate. So they are doing that. But I feel Zikta needs to hold.
I was about to say the same thing. Can it not be passed as a mandate or as a prerequisite by Zikta or the Minister of, Information to say, you guys are providing the internet, which sadly then carries so much hate or misuse or abuse. So it is also your responsibility, just like if you have noticed some devices now have got features that limit the amount of time you can spend on social media.
Yes.
Some even tell you that you have been on social media for 3 hours. Would you like to take a break? So it's possibly would also be in our best interest if whatever regulatory body, it could be Zikta, it could be the ministry, to then mandate to say, you guys would need to allocate a certain budget of the money you make from the internet to have a safe internet policy awareness campaign.
Very true. I agree on this point because it is a due diligence because you are mandated to communicate the risks of a particular service that you're offering, and there are risks to the internet that are clearly there. At the same time, there are the positives. So if you keep promoting the positives to say, oh, look, the use of our platform allows you to promote your business at this level. At the same time, you also need to promote the negatives that can have, right? So I do agree with that point to say, and this is why I said network providers need to do their part as well and bring out these things. Speaking of, I actually want to bring a point on the impact that social media actually has when it comes to certain things like businesses, scamming. Right? There's so much scamming that takes place. You see all these online, opportunities you get. And they're like, if we get so many people, we will be able to give you so much. If you invite so many people to use our platform, you will, get this.
Yeah.
All of this is a positive model, yes, but then many of them are scamming. And a lot of people are losing out money because of this. For instance, a simple person may just decide to say, I'm going to open a Facebook page. And on that page, I need to get followers, right? So I'm going to promote my product such that if you get 10 more people to like and share this post, I'm going to give you guys internet bundles, which is okay.
Yeah.
But then it becomes a scam and eventually. So these are things that are also very key. Because a lot of people out there, the users, are losing out on a lot of money as well. And these are things that people don't understand about advertisements, about certain products that are being sold through the means of social media. People are being scammed. They show you something on Facebook to say, this is a product I'm selling, yet what you get as an end product is not the quality that you actually were shown. Right? So these are things, who's responsible for these things?
True. Doc, I think this ends today just busy referring to your practice and your psychiatry. And from your, like, especially recent experiences when it comes to your practice, what are you seeing in terms of catfishing, which is ever increasing? Yeah.
Okay, no, that's fine. You can answer the question. I had felt like we had not really touched a lot on cyberbullying because there's facets to it. Because I want to get into the psyche of a person
who bullies.
Is it that they are unhappy with themselves? Is it because they believe what they're saying? Is it because they take joy? Schadenfreude, they take joy in the misfortune of other people. I'm just trying to get into the psyche of a person who's going to sit and a person is dressed in a certain way and they're like, but then your dress looks like a curtain. Do they do that because they get dopamine from how many people laugh or like that post at the expense of the person who they're making fun of?
Yes, and there's also a layer to that because I'm going to talk about cyberbullying from, so there's a lot of reports that come in. I also answer Kalinga's, one of the facets from Kalinga's question.
Right.
I've also had a lot of cyberbullying that is coming from schools into practice where a lot of young people have even thought about taking their own lives because of cyberbullying, right? That's the impact that cyberbullying has had. A lot of young people are refusing to go to school because of social norms that are created online, right? There are certain populatory factors that are online that young people are being exposed to, that they're refusing to continue with their studies in high school or in tertiary education like colleges as well. So there's that impact of cyberbullying on that. But coming to the point that Elson, you raised, yes to what you've shared, but there's also a facet to that. Many times the bullies or the people, the trolls are on there to get the most likes or the comments because it's more about, misery loves company, or the concept of we are a community and majority of us are on the other side and you're on that side. So because you're on the side of privilege and I'm not privileged enough, but you've shared your privilege with us and there's no privacy. So you have invited me into your home for me to share what I think about you. So you've given me that platform. An example I'll give you is, say, on my Facebook page, right? I post a particular photo and someone says, oh, Dr. Dalal is short. He's always wearing a bow tie. I don't know what that is all about. What's that about, and etc. To an extent, that is rude. That is not right. But at the same time, I have been sharing that all the time. And because I'm sharing it in the whole wide world, people are also open to their own views around certain things. If they don't align to it or they are not happy about it, they will share what they think. And these are things that we also need to understand, that it's also about what we are promoting. A lot of influencers say, I have a particular, target population that I want to relate to. I don't invite those people to come like my page. They come like my page and I do what I have to do. So why should I be the one who has to censor what I share? I've clearly shared what I want to share, and it's up to them to realize what they're buying into. And when that particular person, say, a celebrity or influencer is bullying based on what they've shared, then again, the narrative changes to say, oh, wait, people are saying negative things about me, right? It's also about looking at the different narratives and the minds and the realities that many people are sharing.
So I don't know which side of the fence I sort of fall on. There's an old saying where they say, never wear a suit made of meat around hungry people.
Mm-hmm.
If it's important to read the room. I hear exactly what you're saying. You work hard for everything that you have. But if you seem to, quote unquote, rub your privilege in a room full of people who do not have, the reaction to that is not going to be one that you possibly anticipate. So in as much as it is okay for you to post what you want to post, it is your page. You have worked for everything that you have. Your environment also counts for something because of the people that you are showing this to. So would you feel that backlash is either warranted or you expect it because you know the audience and the people who you are exposing your posts to? I hope I'm making sense.
Yes, you are. So the point is, I often tell people to say, you invite what you want to show people and you invite what you are seeing on social media. So if you're being, this is more on a wider platform where we're talking about influencers and celebrities, but on an individual platform, cyberbullying is just that. It's cyberbullying, like bullying in real life, where someone is literally picking on you so that they can see you fall or feel hurt or bring you down. And that is a reality that we need to talk about. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, you need to understand that you have to reach out for help and bring that to the attention of, the support that you need. But then coming to catfishing, with catfishing, especially in practice, I've seen a lot of people come in and say, oh, I've been, swindled out of money, or I've been, dating this person online, but in actual fact, this person wasn't even the person they deemed to be. There are people that have actually tried to harm themselves, die by suicide because of the catfishing that they've gone through, because you can't quite tell who's on the other side. Right now, I can have multiple Facebook accounts.
True.
And I can just slide into people's DMs and get what I want out of it.
And pretend to be whoever you want to be.
And that's happening. And the sad part is, it's happening with, young people, where young people are often the prey. And it's really becoming very predatory.
And old people too.
Yes. And it's just alarming. In my practice, I'm seeing a lot of people who are going through, therapy because of the impact that they've had of catfishing. And oftentimes the society will be like, how dumb can you be to fall for that? But that's not the truth. The truth is, a lot of people are looking for that connection, for that, support or that emotional.
I would watch this TV show, Catfish. And
on MTV,
yeah. And there'll be so many people being catfished. But in Zambia, the only time I ever hear of catfishing is mostly women above 30.
Mm-hmm.
What, that are the catfish?
No, being catfished.
That are being catfished.
Yeah.
Well, in practice, I'm seeing both men and women being.
Every time I've heard of these issues in Zambia, it's women above 30. The most recent is, I won't mention her name, but she was catfished by a guy from Nigeria, pretending to be some old rich white man who's also lonely. And, ladies, especially in African setup, when you're above 30, you feel like, you start getting desperate for marriage the older you get, especially after 28, 29, 30, somewhere there. So anybody seemingly looking like they're going to take you out of that loneliness, you fall prey to, such catfishing. And I'm seeing more of it in women above 30 in this country.
Yeah. And that's why I said also older people, because there's so much money that people have lost to catfish, and they normally target older people that are desperate for love.
Dude, this same catfish I'm telling you about, ladies in Lusaka, she's about 32, 33. This catfish guy was pretending to be some old white man in the UK, actually a Nigerian guy. And he says, I've sent you something, it's in South Africa, but you need to send about $200 to pick it up. And she kept sending money to him as well, but he's coming out as this rich white man, but he always has an excuse for not sending her stuff, and she has to send money for those things to arrive. So I think it's like at the third time, then she realized, why am I the only one sending money for these gifts to come?
And the teachable moment before the good dog comes in, when you're on social media and immediately any mention of money comes up,
run.
Red flag.
Run.
Okay. But you see, the point is, first of all, it's very unfortunate that we have that stereotype about biological clocks and women, etc.
Is it a stereotype?
It is.
It can't be a stereotype.
100%.
It's not a stereotype.
It's a stereotype bred by mostly the African setup.
Views,
No, but it's not a stereotype if it's true, because women feel the pressure, whether it is from other people or themselves. Your biological clock is ticking, and if you don't freeze your eggs or have a child immediately, you know your chances of having a child are low. So they feel the pressure themselves.
Yeah, but that's Naeem's point. There shouldn't be pressure. It's something that society has put on women to feel.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's a stereotype.
Oh, okay. I get your point as well, yeah.
Okay, point noted, right? But the thing is, it's unfortunate, and that's not true for all women, right? But then, yes, I would also argue that men are also on that spectrum where, men are also looking for that connection and that kind of, emotional connection as well.
Except Elson.
No, I mean, we won't go there. But the point being,
do you see what I deal with here, Doc?
I hear you. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. Breathe.
Do you do couples therapy?
Which couple?
Doc, you were saying?
So, catfishing is not just about love and connection. It's also about job opportunities. There's so many people that are swindled and scammed because catfished, literally, through job opportunities. People have sent out CVs and money thinking that, they're going to get a job abroad or even, out there. Even within the community, even say from outside Lusaka, within Lusaka, or within Lusaka as well. So there's catfishing that's taking place in that manner where I've seen people come in. We haven't even talked about concepts of, the things that I see because of social media in my practice. Addiction is a huge one because of social media. Betting, online gambling. The betting, people are literally risking away a lot of money and there's so many betting, websites that are coming. Yeah. A lot of people are losing out a lot of money. There's also concepts of sexual addictions and pornography. I mean,
that's a big one.
And that's also because of social media that I am seeing in my practice as well. And all of these are negatives that we are seeing. Relationships breaking. We spoke about divorces, a big part that social media also plays on that. So when it comes to my practice right now, both in private and in, government, we're seeing all these negative connotations because of social media.
I'll really like a part 2 because there's a lot that we haven't touched on, and I know people's attention span.
We have to conclude now. Yeah,
is extremely limited. There's a lot that we did not touch on. So, with your permission, Doc, I'd like for us to have a part 2 on this.
One of the things I also need to express is suicide. Social media and suicide, and that's
another part that I really want us to touch on. Yeah, that's another part.
Imagine you're going through all the concerns and realities in your life which are negative, and your algorithm is constantly showing those negativities, and then someone else who's in your situation decides to end their life because of suicide, and then
you see it as a way out as well,
at you, and then you read all the comments and you're like, yeah,
I might as well,
and these are things that people don't realize.
There's and I hope I find it. There's a woman that has been found guilty. What she did is, there's a guy, just like you said, he was already going through his own issues, and the guy opened up to this woman on social media about him trying to kill himself. I hope this plays. I want you to listen to this.
Carter of Plainville, Massachusetts, waiving her right to a jury this week in an unusual trial over whether she drove her high school boyfriend to suicide. In text messages, Carter, who was 17 at the time, told Conrad Roy, quote, "You need to just do it." When Roy expressed second thoughts, Carter encouraged her boyfriend to get back into his truck, where authorities later found his body and the vehicle filled with carbon monoxide. Prosecutors say the text messages and phone calls made before and during the suicide proved that Carter persuaded Roy to kill himself. Carter's lawyer argues the text messages are protected free speech. Her decision to forego the right to a jury means members of her community will not get to decide her fate. The case will now be tried by the judge. Carter is charged with involuntary manslaughter and faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted.
Yeah, I'm aware of this case.
Social media. She sent him a slew of texts saying, kill yourself, and he did.
And she's likely to get 20 years.
Yeah, manslaughter. So that's exactly what you're saying. where you already have your own issues that you're dealing with, and you get onto social media, and people are not aware of this, and you get people that are nasty. You get people that say whatever they feel like saying, and so many times we hear, and people are dying younger and younger every single day. I think people do not really appreciate how Dr. Naeem, Elson, Kalenga all have got different tolerance levels. I might be able to tolerate BS a lot more than the next person. So I think that's basically the point that you were trying to bring out.
Yeah, a lot of points. I agree with you that there's a lot that social media does. We haven't even gone into I would like to explore more on the algorithm, specifically on the Zambian.
Let's do a part 2.
Yeah.
Let's do a part 2.
Yeah.
We've already gone way past an hour. Well, not really way past an hour, but just considering what the YouTube algorithm shows us, the attention span of our viewers sometimes can be
like 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I would want us to end this and have a part 2 where we basically speak about the suicide, the algorithm that people are shown. I would like to touch more again on the responsibility that Zigta and the other MNOs have and what exactly they could do. So we could come up with pointers of how they could achieve this to perhaps have safer internet practices.
Thank you.
That was quite an interesting outro, Elson. Is that like your radio voice?
Yeah, man.
You spoke different.
Yeah, man. That's
how you say
like
speak,
that,
bro.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we do, man.
Remember to click on the subscribe button right at the bottom of the screen.
I personally liked this episode.
Yeah.
And another thing that we also need to speak about, I spoke about this on the Danny episode, where children can no longer approach girls or have interaction.
That's coming in part 2. I really can't wait to talk about that. We started this when Danny episode.
Danny, yes. Because now, with Tinder, with social media, they can be as brave as they want to be.
But in
behind the
person.
phone.
And
save that for part 2. Dr. Naeem, I know there's something interesting you want to say.
Catfishing, the Tinder swindler.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Till the next episode, before we start digesting things for the next episode, content that we need to leave on the table for next episode.
My name is Elson. Do
K
not
plus.
call me. Or you can call me the other guy if you like. But only if you hit the subscribe button. Anybody who calls me the other guy
must subscribe.
And if I meet you in the street and you say you're a fan, I'm going to ask you to take your phone out.
Exactly.
I'm going to ask you to show me.
I think I should be doing that as well.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to show me if you're subscribed. Because you can't be telling me that you're a fan when you're not subscribed. Doc, does that work? No.
I hear you, but autonomy.
Doc, subscribe. Subscribe.
Till the next episode, subscribe. Have a good day.
Dun, 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 dun.